Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the second power session in the Strengthen the Harmony Between Your Life, Family, and Work series. For those of you that don't yet know me, I'm Judy Whalen. I'm your host for the series. And it's my business that's sponsoring this whole program. My business is the Center for Strategic Change. If this is the first time you're joining us, first of all, welcome. And in just a minute, I'm going to go over a series of how the series is going to unfold so that you'll be filled in so that you understand how everything's going to work from the first session to the last. So that's about it for the welcome. Let's see if we can jump right into the PowerPoint. This is always a little interesting because it kind of, it goes to sleep. Okay. The purpose for this whole series is years of consulting with clients in the areas of strategy. I've observed the whole aspect of work-life balance as being incredibly difficult for people to achieve. And it got me thinking about how could I help my clients who are typically in leadership roles in organizations work not only more effectively in their organization, but also be effective in the other areas of their life. And that's what drew me to creating this whole series and this whole program, because I've offered this program for years. I just haven't offered this power session. This is a new power. So what I want to do is to be able to offer an approach for work-life balance and to help us reframe how we think about those words, how we think about what we're trying to achieve in our life. So to just give you a quick overview of how this 30 minutes is going to unfold, I'm going to do a quick review of the series. Then we're going to jump into the topics today. We're going to delve deeper into harmony versus balance. We're going to explore the whole controversy of work-life balance. And then we're going to spend some time talking about the importance of clarity and clarity about the roles you fill. And there'll be another power session tip of the week. Last session, during the first session, there was a tip of the week. And if you weren't able to attend the first session, just jump on the YouTube channel, the Center for Strategic Change's YouTube channel, and the replay is up on that channel, and you'll be able to see not only the whole session, but also the tip of the week. And then we'll do a quick wrap up. So moving right into information about the series. This is a 5-session power series. So there's 5 power sessions. They're every week on Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and they will end on September 27th. Now, because there's different learning styles, I do use PowerPoint because some people learn better by seeing as well as hearing, and some people learn better by the tactile. So if you can enter information into the chat, that would be super. And the next session for this is not the 6th, it's the 13th, sorry. And there is the recording of this session, and it'll be put up on the YouTube channel as soon as I can get it edited. And at the end of each session, there is a special gift. So let's move on into the topics. And as we move into the topics, if you have questions, please put your questions in the chat. And because this is 30 minutes, I may not have time to answer all the questions, but I will send you answers by email if you leave me your email address in the chat. And if it's something that you're uncomfortable putting your email in the chat, send it to me privately. Just send it to Judy at Strengthen the Harmony, and we'll get the answers to you. Which brings up, last week there was a question in the chat about, is work-life balance really possible? And that's kind of the elephant in the room, isn't it? That might be why you're listening here, is that, can it actually be achieved? And the answer is, possibly. Sorry that it's not a definite yes, but that's the whole purpose of this series, is to help you reframe how you think about it so that it is achievable. So we're moving on to the whole concept of work-life balance. And by the end of this series, I'm hoping you're able to put this phrase to the side and that you have another whole different phrase to replace it. And I'm going to just get rid of this piece down here. So, is this your life? I just want to get you back into thinking about why you might be here. Is this your life? And I think about this now as being so appropriate as schools are getting back into sessions, we're moving back into a typical, let's call it routine of a schedule of work, school, activities, and we don't have kind of the lazy days that we had of summer, if you actually had any lazy days. Or is this your life where now, especially because of schools being back in session and different programs picking up again because it's moving into the fall, are you juggling all these different types of things in your life, or even more? Do you feel like you're just the juggler trying to keep all the balls in the air? So just let this kind of sit in the back of your mind as we move through this session. So again, the purpose is to offer a different approach to work-life balance and to help you reframe how we think about it. So 2 things to keep in the back of your mind: reframe and possibly all the anxiety, the juggling that you're having to do to get through your daily life. So the goal of this whole program is to help you achieve harmony. Okay, another word to just kind of tuck to the back of your mind as we're moving through this: harmony. And last time in the first session, we spent time actually looking at the definition of harmony. And here's the summary slide after we went through each one of these items. And I just want to put it back out there to refresh your memory, or to help those of you who may be joining us for the first time. That harmony, and I asked you to just jot down those words in blue: a combination of simultaneous musical notes in a chord, a pleasing arrangement of parts, agreement, internal calm, an internal weaving of different accounts into a single narrative. And we talked about how that internal weaving is actually weaving all the different aspects of your life into the single world of your life. And then we went on and we talked about the word balance. And again, we looked at definitions for balance, and both these definitions came right out of the dictionary. So a definition of balance, and this was the summary slide from last time: physical equilibrium, stability produced by even distribution of weight, mental and emotional steadiness, a means of judging or deciding, and then an aesthetically pleasing integration of elements. So those are the 2 definitions that we talked about. But I want to take this just a little bit further and give you a visual that we can spend time exploring the similarities and the differences of in a little bit more depth. So if we look at both of these definitions, harmony and balance, there are some words that were used in the definition that are very similar. So for instance, pleasing arrangement is very similar to pleasing integration. And agreement, we could make the case that it's similar to a means of judging. However, means of judging doesn't quite take it far enough to truly be an agreement. You've got a means of judging, but then you have to determine, is it a choice you're going to make or is it not? So that's the piece that's not quite there with means of judging. But I'm going to just say it's kind of the same. But then we have all these other words from the definition. And when you start to look at them across the chart and even individually, they don't equal each other. So simultaneous means things are going on at the same time. But equilibrium means there's some kind of a balance. Now, think about your life. When everything's going on at the same time, is there balance? And I'm not saying they have to be equal. I'm just saying they're different. And in the definition of harmony, it talks about internal calm. But balance doesn't really talk about calm. It talks about stability, which, depending upon how you want to define stability, you could possibly see some relationship to internal calm. But in my world, stability doesn't really mean internal calm. And then it goes on by even distribution. And this is what's getting to that whole equilibrium, that everything is of equal weight. So there's a vast difference and a whole different concept under balance. And then we look at the internal weaving into a single narrative. And quite frankly, nowhere in balance does it say anything about that internal weaving or forming a harmonious group, harmonious life. It talks about steadiness, and there's some value, obviously, in steadiness. But there's differences in the way the words were defined. And that's the point I'm trying to make, is just think about which words have meaning for you. And I'm going to just say right now, there's no right or wrong. If you choose that the words for balance make sense to you, fine. That's your choice, and you just keep on going with it. But there are some of us where those words don't really connect, at least for me, because nothing in my life is of even distribution or equilibrium. So that's the point that I want to continue to make throughout the rest of this series, is that when you look at your life, it's very unusual, let's just say, and probably very rare, that everything in your life is of equal importance, or that there's an equilibrium across all the aspects of your life, and that everything is evenly distributed. That's just not the case in most of our lives. So I want to help you understand right now, because we're seeing this and we're hearing it a lot in the media. And I just want to help you understand why it is such a hot topic right now before we jump into the next piece of this. It's such a hot topic right now because of the aging workforce. Baby boomers are retiring at a faster rate than ever. And part of the reason, obviously, is simply age, but part of the reason is the pandemic. People during the pandemic had the unusual opportunity to step back from their bustle of everyday life and actually look at their life, and were given, unfortunately, the opportunity to spend time, unfortunately, at home with their family. That we had, at the early parts of the pandemic, we had no different options. And this provided an opportunity for people to reassess, to experience a different, let's call it, way of life, at least temporarily. So people are making choices based upon what they experienced. Now, another reason why this is such a hot topic is because as baby boomers are retiring, and as the pandemic hit and people left the workforce, generations X, Y, and Z actually now make up a majority of the workforce. And there's some unique characteristics here that, as this whole thing is unfolding, it's impacting our work-life balance. So for instance, Generation X right now is in leadership roles in organizations, and they're trying to fill spots, positions that were left empty by people leaving the workforce for any number of different reasons. And what's actually occurring is Generation Y is being moved into leadership roles at a much younger time than previous generations. Okay. And then Generation Z is just watching all of this occur. And I want to show you some of the differences in the generations. So as we think about everything that's going on in the workforce right now, is that Generation X, and that's those people born 1965 to 1980, they're really interested in entrepreneurism, information, and access. But Generation Y, born 1981 to 1995, is interested in diversity, structure, and technology. And so simply because of these differences right there, you can begin to get an understanding of some of the challenges that we're facing now in the workforce. And then you add Generation Z to the workforce, and they're born 1996 to 2017, and they're interested in connectivity, of course, because there's all this social media. Connectivity, self-direction, and innovation. Put these all together, and these are wonderful interests to have because they're all important in growing an organization. but they also present challenges as the different generations try to interact and step into leadership roles. And especially if they're being asked to step into leadership roles, perhaps earlier than they would have in other circumstances, there's still some grooming that needs to occur. So I just wanted to share that as a background. And another reason why this is such a hot topic right now is also the diversity in families. Work-life balance isn't a new topic. It's been around for a long time. And I mean, just say way back in the 1900s, you could say that work-life balance was an issue as laborers were advocating for more reasonable hours. Back then they were working 100 hours a week, some of them. So they were advocating for better working conditions and fewer hours. But the term work-life balance was actually coined in the 1980s as women really entered the workforce again and needed to have some, let's just say, some attention paid to that. They not only were an employee, but they also had responsibilities at home. And so now this is a really hot topic again because of the way we have viewed families, the diversity in families. We've got a traditional family, we've got single moms, single dads. We actually have grandparents raising children. And then the issue has broadened beyond just the family to incorporate health and wellness. So there's all different reasons why this is such a hot topic. And then, of course, the pandemic, because during the pandemic, people got to experience, let's just call it, a different way of life. And they began to understand that they could work from home. And the rise of entrepreneurism is all a piece of this, especially with young people who are working, let's call it a regular job, and then have what they call their independent gig on the side. So there's all kinds of reasons right now why this has become such a hot topic. And then, of course, right now, we have the return to the office. As things have eased, let's just say, hopefully eased in your area, with the pandemic, people have been encouraged to return to the office. And that, again, is a massive change from what perhaps they had been accustomed to. So there's all these things that are reasons why there is especially great interest in work-life balance and also controversy. This is not just a one and done type topic. This is a ongoing, lifelong topic. And it has caused all kinds of controversy about it. So for instance, in the Harvard Business Review, these two authors just claimed that it's an elusive idea and a complete myth. They just felt there's no way to achieve it. And then if you happen to be an entrepreneur or entrepreneurs, 68% of them said the importance of work-life balance is exaggerated. Now, about all the different types of work environments. There's the work environment where you're the employee, and it could be in a business that's owned by an entrepreneur. It could be in a government agency. It could be in an educational institution. It could be in a healthcare institution. So there's different types of employment situations. Those entrepreneurs, though, just think the whole work-life balance is exaggerated, partly because they love what they do. And even though they love what they do, when they get to the point of hiring employees, they do, for the most part, realize the importance that employees are employees and may not have the same passion for the business that they do as the entrepreneur, the business owner, and that they are committed to keeping an environment that works for the best interest of the business and the employee. Because there is a relationship here that as work-life balance, and that word is so awful, decreases, so does productivity. And so does happiness on the job. So enlightened entrepreneurs are really concerned about the type of environment that they create for their workers. Now, another part of the controversy relating to entrepreneurs is that 61% of them said they never really stopped thinking about work. And quite frankly, I can tell you from my own experience, that's true. As an entrepreneur, as a business owner, I'm always thinking about work, but not to the same level of degree. There's times of the day where I'm, yes, really focused on what I'm doing at my computer or whatever. But even when I'm not working, like if I'm out in my garden, I can still be thinking about an idea that comes across my mind that would be something we should consider. Or if I'm out socializing and someone brings something up, it's like it's always there. So entrepreneurs are, let's just put them in a different category than people who might be working in a bureaucracy. Because in a bureaucracy, you don't have a lot of control over your environment. But as the entrepreneur, as a business owner, you do. Now, the other controversy around work-life balance involves how our brains actually function. And we don't just think one single thought at a time. We're juggling many different thoughts all at once. Now, don't confuse that with multitasking, okay? That's not what I'm talking about. But when you leave the house for work, you might be thinking about, okay, I got to drop my child off at daycare, but I got to get to work at 8 o'clock. So there's multiple thoughts running through your head at the same time. And the other piece of this is that we are all different. There is no one solution or one method for creating work-life balance that will fit each one of us. We all work in different areas. We have different family demands. We are different, and that's the beauty of us. We are different. And so the way to approach work-life balance is, first of all, let's remove the word balance because that implies that everything's the same, and it's not. And develop a process or a method that works for you, because that's all that matters. This is about you, about your life, about your work environment, and about creating the harmony between all the different aspects of your life. So there's one other piece to this controversy that I'm just going to put out there. We're not going to dig into it too deeply at the moment, but it could be that the stress, the unhappiness that you feel, you may be calling it work-life balance issue, when in actuality, there could be a different root cause for that unhappiness. And I just urge you to continue to work on getting clarity about what is the root cause. And as part of this session, we're actually going to talk about clarity. But just put this thought out there, that is it actually work-life balance that you think is bugging you, or is there a different root cause? So our goal is to create harmony. And to create harmony, the first step in creating harmony is creating awareness. Is you need to be aware of what the issue is, what the problem is, what the characteristics are, where the rubs are, before you can even begin to think about solving the issue. So creating awareness is the first step in leading to clarity. And clarity is one of the big keys to creating this whole process for yourself. Once you have clarity about what are the issues, what are the characteristics, what trends are you seeing? Once you have the clarity, then you can begin, obviously, to become clear, and that leads you to making choices. Now, I know this sounds simple: awareness, clarity, choices. Well, we all know that in between and behind those words, there's a lot of strategic thinking that goes on. And there is a process to do strategic thinking. And I'm going to help you with that if you stick with me through the rest of this series. So the choices then lead you to the harmony that you create in your life. It's the choices that make the difference. The choices that lead you to realizing that everything is not the same value. Some things are more important, require more time, require more effort. So my goal for this whole thing is to help move you from, remember we had this woman in the first session, move you from stress, anxiety, confusion, and frustration to a point where you can experience harmony, calm. You can sit and have that cup of coffee. You can actually smile and feel that your life or your day, let's take it one day at a time, can be unfolding harmoniously. And remember, this doesn't affect just women. This affects men as much as it affects women. They just manifest it differently. Okay? And I want them to also get to a point where they can be living their day to day, in harmony, because you're making choices, because you've become aware, you've gotten clarity, and you're making the choices that lead to harmony. So here we are to the tip of the week. And gosh, every time I do this, these 30 minutes go so darn fast. The tip of the week. The tip of the week this week is just observe yourself as you move through your week. So each day, just notice when you start to feel stress, conflicted, anxious, really angry or sad. Notice those things, exhausted and overwhelmed, and jot them down in a log. Okay, now we all have plenty of tools with us that we can jot things down easily. You know, we've got our cell phones, or if you're at your computer, carry a little paper notebook. You can do this while you're standing in line at the grocery store, or I want to say waiting at a stoplight, but please don't write while you're waiting at the stoplight. But you can be thinking. Okay, so when you start getting things into your log, 2 or 3 times during the week, review your log and start looking for patterns. Are the same things causing you to stress? Is it getting out the door on time and you can feel that you're getting really anxious and frustrated and you're starting to worry about, are you going to be on time? Jot that down. It can be any number of other things, but just start keeping a log of what things trigger a feeling that's not in harmony. And then I also want you to keep doing the tip of last week. 5 minutes of quiet. Just 5 minutes of quiet where you unplug. Unplug your phone, disconnect from any TV, series, music, whatever. Just 5 minutes that is just you. Just you hearing your own thoughts running through your head, whatever those might be. And just keep doing it every single day. And eventually, every single day, the to-do list goes away and you start to hear some thoughts that will help you move into harmony. And so on that note, I want to give you the takeaways. The takeaways are that several words in harmony and balance are similar, but only harmony defines it as an inner calm and the simultaneous occurrence of elements and the internal weaving into a single life. So it's up to you. Choose which word makes more sense to you. Because remember, this is about you. You create the process that will lead you to harmony and create less stress, anxiety in your life. Work-life balance right now is a really, really hot topic, and there's a lot of controversy around it. And then remember that awareness leads to clarity. Clarity leads to choices, and choices lead to harmony. And the tip of the week, just observe yourself. Keep a log and then look for patterns. And on that note, I just want to say the next session is next Tuesday, the 13th at 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The tentative topics are, we're going to tentatively talk about happiness, clarity, how to achieve it, and making choices. How do you make choices? And then there'll be another tip for the week. And I want to say thank you for joining me. I have 2 free gifts for you. Again, as always, it's the 30-minute strategy call. If you are just at a point where you just don't know how to take the next step, just schedule a strategy call. My goal is to just help you keep moving forward. I'm not a counselor, and we're not going to get in any deep counseling. This is simply strategy, moving you forward and creating harmony in your life. And then I have the free Develop a Positive Mindset in 5 minutes a day, which I created. And all you have to do is copy that link and go to it, and you can immediately download the book. It's just beautifully illustrated. It was such fun to do this. I just had such fun creating these tips. And I'm just amazed with the beautiful graphics. And it's a tip a day for a month, because everything starts with our mindset. So it just helps you to keep a positive mindset. On that note, I'm going to put these back up, and I want to say thank you again so very much. I appreciate you joining me. And if you know others who could benefit from this, please refer this to them. Or if you know any companies where it could be a benefit to their employees, please just email me, and I'd be happy to follow up, and perhaps we can make something happen for harmony within their lives. So again, thank you so much, and I hope to see you next week. If you have questions, put them in the chat. And again, thanks, and I hope to see you next Tuesday. Take care. Bye-bye.